Coming up on Network Africa. 13 people killed, 27 missing after a boat carrying Sudanese migrants to Europe sinks off the Tunisian coast. The Congo River rises to levels not seen in over 60 years as the UN Children's Fund responds to devastating flood in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Plus, South Africa's Foreign Minister, Naledi Pandor, accuses Israel of intimidation following the Gaza case at the International Court of Justice. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin today off the coast of Tunisia, where at least 13 Sudanese migrants have died after their small metal boat sank. According to local authorities, 27 others are believed to be missing as they sought to cross the Mediterranean to reach Europe. The Tunisian Coast Guard says it was able to rescue just 2 people from the capsized boat 14 kilometers off the coast of the port of Cheba and is still searching for those missing. According to the survivors, a total of 42 people were on board, all from Sudan. They say the group had left from the coast of nearby Sfax, a common jumping-off point for illegal boat journeys across the Mediterranean to Italy. Such migration attempts have increased recently from Tunisia by both Tunisians and people from elsewhere in Africa. The United Nations is urging countries not to forget millions of people that are caught up in the conflict in Sudan as it calls for $4.1 billion to help stave off famine and also to assist those who fled abroad to bordering states. According to UN agencies, the 10-month war has created one of the world's largest displacement and protection crises. Martin Griffiths, the UN Emergency Relief Chief and head of the UN Aid Coordination Office, says half of Sudan's population, 25 million people, need humanitarian assistance.
Half of the population of Sudan needs humanitarian assistance, 25 million people, far too many of them children. 18 million people are, quote-unquote, acutely food insecure. If we start seeing famine in Sudan, and it won't be the first time we've seen famine in Sudan, to add to this violence and displacement and lack of access and lack of a political horizon, then I think we can all agree we have no humanity in us that will allow this to happen.
We are already seeing people fleeing Sudan, especially along certain routes from East Sudan and from Chad itself, where there's many of them, towards Libya, Tunisia, and then towards Europe. So I have warned, literally, European countries in particular, that if the current neglect of this crisis continues, we will see secondary movements. When you ask people, would you go back if there was a ceasefire, they think carefully about the answer. They said, we would have to be convinced that there is real peace and that that the militia is not going to come into our house and kick us out again. So the message that I passed to the leadership and will continue to pass to the 2 leaderships is really, you're losing your own people. What's the purpose of fighting if then you don't have people to rule?
The United Nations Children's Fund and partners say they are responding to devastating flooding in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, with the Congo River rising to levels that's not been seen in more than 60 years, and also a growing cholera outbreak. 18 out of DRC's 26 provinces are affected following exceptionally heavy rainfall over the past couple of months, leaving more than 2 million people, nearly 60% children, in need of assistance. Floodwaters have reportedly destroyed or damaged almost 100,000 households, and 40% of cholera cases have been found in areas that are flooded or at risk of flooding. The UNICEF says it has ramped up its efforts to contain the existing outbreak that threatens to spiral out of control. We're in South Africa now, where President Cyril Ramaphosa says an end to the crippling power cuts in the country is within reach. He said this at the annual State of the Nation address ahead of elections this year, but offered no timetable for his promise. Well, South Africa has been hit by regular blackouts after years of underinvestment in the sector by the state energy company ESCOM. The lack of power has also damaged industrial output. Mr. Ramaphosa also promised to increase the production of renewable energy and create thousands of jobs in the green economy. There's been growing dissatisfaction among the electorate with the governing ANC for failing to deliver on previous promises to fight poverty and corruption in the country. In the meantime, the country's manufacturing production disappointed in December, and this is according to a report published by Pretoria-based Statistics South Africa on Thursday. Output increased by 0.7% compared to a year earlier, down from an upwardly revised 2.5% in November. Month-on-month production contracted by 1.7%, both figures falling short of analysts' expectations. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Samosa, has more details.
According to Stats SA, the manufacturing sector in South Africa contributes around 12.27% to the country's gross domestic product. South Africa's December production contrasts by 1.7%. Deputy Minister of Public Enterprises, Obert Babela, attributes this to inadequate logistic infrastructure.
We should have connected Africa on rail, and then the air also are not as connected. Some of the people who are producing flowers in South Africa, after plantation season harvesting, they take the flowers to the market, and when they go into cargo, the cargo takes them to Netherlands or to France, and then from France back to Africa. It's very expensive. But also we don't build ships that we can apply to the maritime to say, these routes now we need as African continent, apply for them so that a ship can move from one coast to the other, delivering goods that connects to our continent. So for domestic, we have to get our sugar plantation, sugar canes from Brazil. The ship does not come across Atlantic. It must go to Holland, dock there, and then another one come, because they say there's no international route between Brazil and South Africa or Africa. And yet we are just opposite each other.
Given these challenges, can South Africa effectively attract investors? Managing Director at Repetition First, Tshepo Matseba, explains.
Look, investors want predictability, so they want to know that an environment that you go in to invest is predictable, in the sense that you know that the energy supply is stable, you know that the country is relatively stable in terms of infrastructure, that the financial system and the banking system are functional and not compromised, and that there's leadership stability. And so I think the investors are looking for that kind of indication that there'll be leadership stability. And can South Africa attract investors? We certainly can. And if you look at the fact that the Americans, for example, are a bit uncomfortable with South Africa's taking Israel to The Hague, the Americans are not in a position to actually literally just disinvest in South Africa. Companies such as Ford are invested in South Africa, and that investment will continue to grow.
That are now in development.
Delivering his State of the Nation address, President Cyril Ramaphosa said the momentum towards Transnet reform will increase this year. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
Well, South Africa's Foreign Minister, Naledi Pandor, is accusing Israeli intelligence of trying to intimidate her following the Gaza case at the International Court of Justice. Local media reports that Ms. Pandor said she is concerned about the safety of her family after having been targeted on social media. She says she's also spoken to Police Minister Becky Cele about beefing up her security after she received threatening messages. Well, Israel is yet to respond to to the minister's accusations. Ms. Pando's comments come a few days after President Cyril Ramaphosa spoke of a possible fight-back campaign against South Africa after the ICJ ruling. However, the government says it is determined to see the ICJ case go through. Well, joining us now on the program is our correspondent, Innocent Samosa, for more on all that's happening in South Africa. Hello, Innocent. Let's begin with this allegation from the minister, Naledi Pandor. Although Israel is yet to comment, how is the government, the South African government now, responding to this accusation of Israel intimidating her?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Layo, and our viewers around the world. It's always good to be in your company. News just in. In fact, she was speaking right after the State of the Nation address. She was speaking to members of the media, mentioning that her life is under threat due to what she has done, taking Israel to the International Court of Justice. But I just got off the call now with one official from the Department of International Relations, just to get clarity. He then mentioned that there is no official statement from DECO or from the presidency about what she is alleging. She was responding but to members of the media. So I don't want us for now to basically purport that she was really she's really meaning it, but at this point in time we don't have any information from the Department of International Relations. Then if they issue a statement, then would know that this is a serious matter. But we know that Layo, the International Relations Minister, Naledi Pandor, has described Germany's saving of South Africa's social media commentator with summons over her stance on the Middle East conflict as shocking. You would know that there is a commentator that was served by Germany, and of also speaking on radio, speaking to local media. Pandor said that she was aware that there's this commentator who has been served with, indictment, should I say, for allegedly rewarding and awarding crime. But she said that she doesn't understand why would Germany do that. And now South Africa, we know, that is accusing Israel of genocide before the International Court of Justice. But the minister also views Germany's decision for charging this social media commentator as really disingenuous. And we understand that they said that she was supposed to appear in court next week, in the German court next week, but she's still in South Africa. It does seem like this will play out in the German court in April this year, but she's quite disappointed that Israel will definitely take that stance to basically take an individual to court for what they think is wrong.
Indeed, and this is a serious accusation. Well, she says, she has spoken to the police minister, Becky Sele. Perhaps this will be looked into. Even as we wait on that, SONA 2024 has just held the State of the Nation address, and President Ramaphosa spoke on various issues. Just talk to us briefly about, the highlights of that address.
Well, I think it was a very disappointing State of the Nation address, Layo. And I'm saying this because President Ramaphosa kept on saying that the ANC is rebuilding state-owned entities. Well and good. If the ANC is rebuilding their state-owned entities, who destroyed them at the same place? Does it mean that we should applaud the ANC for rebuilding what they've destroyed? I was quite puzzled. I think it was empty. This is what we have been hearing over the years, that they're fixing this and that. But at the end of the day, things are not sorted out. Layo, I'm speaking to you right now. I'm load-shedded. I'm in the dark right now. It's very frustrating because it stops production. People get to work late because traffic lights are not working, and the communication from ESCOM as with regards to their stages of load shedding, it it's empty at times. There's no commitment. It's really disappointing. I can tell you now that the ANC is running out of ideas. But I'm not taking out the fact that the ANC has done a lot for the people of South Africa, but there's more that needs to be done to better the lives of ordinary citizens. Now, the president said that the end is near in concluding the blackouts. He also mentioned that millions are being spent in restoring the power utility in order to bring renewable energy from independent power producers. But that's what we've been hearing over the years. They are saying the same rhetoric over and over again. So I guess it's high time. It's an important time, 2024, for South Africans as they're going to the polls. I can tell you now, Layo, that top of their mind, one thing is certain: they will be thinking about load shedding. They will be thinking about the high unemployment rate in the country. They will be thinking about the deteriorating infrastructure in the country. They will also be thinking about the corruption in the country. So it is going to be an interesting elections, I can tell you right now, but we're up for a very complicated coalition government post 2024 election live. But I can tell you now that the State of the Nation address, there was really nothing new that the president said that we didn't hear over the years.
All right, then, in a sense, a lot for citizens to consider even as they head to the polls. But thank you so much, our correspondent in Johannesburg.
Thank you, colleague.
Well, still ahead on the program. The U.S. Museum returns artifacts looted by the UK to Ghana. More details after the break. Please join us again. Welcome back to the program. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has convened an emergency meeting to address pressing issues across the region. Among the key concerns are the political turmoil in Senegal and the ongoing tensions with military regimes in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. President of the ECOWAS Commission is urging member states to remain united in purpose and objectives as the region seeks to overcome its challenges. Mr. Omar Toure gave this charge at the opening session of the Mediation and Security Council at the ministerial level of the Commission in Abuja here in Nigeria. The meeting was chaired by Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga.
The ECOWAS anthem signals the beginning of the ministerial meeting of the ECOWAS Mediation and Security Council. The region has been in the spotlight recently following the decision of Mali, Niger Republic and Burkina Faso to withdraw from the regional bloc and the political situation in Senegal.
Your Excellency.
These developments have caused considerable concern across the region.
These unfolding events in the region are posing challenges that risk threatening stability in our countries. Consequently, an additional memoranda has been prepared on the situation in the Republic of Senegal for Your Excellency's consideration. This extraordinary session of the MSC therefore invites you to critically examine the following memoranda. The memorandum on the intent of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to withdraw from ECOWAS, with a supplementary memorandum on the wider implication of the withdrawal. The second is the memoranda on elections in member states with special reference, special emphasis on the postponed elections in Senegal.
On behalf of the chairperson, want to restate and call for calm and the total respect and adherence to the rule of law and constitutional order.
Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, is the chairman of the council and he underscores the commitment of the sub-region to preserve democratic principles and upholding the rights of all citizens in the region.
I commend the collective efforts of all our member states in upholding the decision by ECOWAS on those member states that have deviated from constitutional governance. ECOWAS' commitment to addressing these challenges underscores our shared dedication to preserving the democratic principles upon which our organization stands.
The ECOWAS leadership hopes that deliberations at this meeting will take actionable recommendations that will bring a strong and more united sub-region. Victoria Longjohn for Channels Television News.
The Lagos State government has signed a partnership program with Niger and Kwara states towards bridging food supply gaps under the Produce for Lagos initiative. Speaking at the event in Alausa Ikeja, the State Ministry of Agriculture, Abisola Olusoyan, says the initiative is to support local farmers, boost food production, particularly in livestock, fisheries and horticulture, to commercial quantities, which will meet the demands of Lagos and other states.
We have to grow more food. It is at the local government and state level.
That message from President Bola Tinubu in specific terms on more attention to agricultural production across the state has brought about this meeting in Lagos to give impetus to the President's executive order on food production. Lagos, Niger and Kwara states are taking a bold step towards improving food supply across the states. The three states are in agreement to cultivate about 500,000 hectares of farmland for the 2024 dry season farming and will be supported by the federal government.
You have rice, like I said, over 1 million tons. We are producing very minimal, but we have the largest mill, so we need partners. So we need Kwara, we need Niger, we need states in Nigeria across board. But I feel that with what we know that our president is gunning toward, which is to ensure food security, the three states, coming together, we will be charting the course in setting the tone that indeed we are serious about what Mr. President wants to do, and we are taking the lead in ensuring that this collaboration happens and the dream of a food secure Nigeria also happens.
Targeted value chains produced for cultivation under the 2023-2024 dry season are wheat, 123,000 hectares, rice, 150,000 hectares, maize, 30,000 hectares, and cassava, 20,000 hectares. Lagos State government is well prepared for the task ahead, particularly with the upcoming food logistics hub, the already existing middle-level agro-food hub in Mushi, amongst others. It's a welcome idea for the Kwara State government, who believe the initiative will empower the farmers to produce more.
This is beyond exchange of goods. It's bridging gaps. It's about building communities, empowering our farmers. And it's about also ensuring that there is food security. So we are happy to key into this, to be able to help feed Kwarans first, before we then feed Lagos and the entire nation.
For the Niger State government, the move will go a long way towards transforming the agricultural strategy of the state.
Anything you throw in Niger State grows. So what product, are we going to bring, to Lagos State? So this relationship that we have just started, for me, is a very exciting one. It's also challenging, yes, because we have to make it work. And like you said, it's not rocket science. In the next 6 months, Nigerians should begin to see the relationship between Kwara, Niger, and Lagos State. And I believe that once this thing is going smoothly, before you know it, other states will fall within.
Currently, Lagos boasts of 20% food production and targets 40% self-sufficiency in the next coming years. The government is hoping to unveil the phase 1 of the food logistic hub in Ekpe by December to reduce post-harvest losses.
We have a hub, and that is just one. We are building 3 more, so making 4, and then we still have several others. So in terms of assurance of when this kickoff would happen, it is going to happen at least, I'm looking at by third quarter of this year, because even the logistics hub, phase 1 of the logistics hub is supposed to be due for commissioning in December of 2024.
The partnership is kicking off with 3 states. 17 other states will be joining the drive to increase food production in Lagos and the country at large.
Malawi has removed visa restrictions for travelers from 79 countries in an effort to boost tourism and trade in the country. The Homeland Security Ministry amended the immigration regulations, effectively lifting visa barriers for citizens from the UK, China, Russia, Germany, Australia, Canada, Belgium, Ghana, the Gambia, Sierra Leone, France, and others. Nationals from the Southern African Development Community, SADC, and the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, are also exempt from the visa requirements. Finally, on the program, 7 royal artifacts that were looted from Ghana's traditional Asante kingdom nearly 150 years ago has been returned. The king, known as the Asante Hene, received the items during a ceremony. They were repatriated from the Fowler Museum, based at the University of California in the US, and handed over to King Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. They include a gold necklace, an ornamental chair, 2 gold stool ornaments and 2 bracelets. The items have been hosted at the Fowler Museum since 1965, but were looted by British forces from the Asante Hene's Manshia Palace in the city of Kumasi, southern Ghana, back in 1874. And that's it on the program today and for the week. Thank you so much for always watching. I'm Layo Olarinde. Have a lovely weekend.